guys, it's almost spring and I thought I would show you what's going on in the garden at the moment because the sun is out and it's a lovely day. So the flowers are finally starting to come out. I'm pretty sure this is a beetroot. If you go down here, you can see the ugly little gnarled base, and I think that was a beetroot. But I've left it and now it's just burst into bloom. And then this thing down here, I have no idea what it is, but I've been growing it for like a year and a half and it's finally sent out these big weird things, so I'm very excited to try and find out what that is. And then this guy that I showed you a little while ago is now covered in flowers. Oh, and over here finally have some healthy sweet peas that have clung on to this archway that I made, and the first beginnings of a flower. It's really cool to look at the sweet peas up close actually, because see how they're sending out all of these little tendrils, and look at this one that's grabbed hold. It's reached so far to pull itself up. So beautiful plant. I cannot wait for that to flower. These are the narcissi that have finished flowering now, so I need to take these off, so I'll cut them back down right to the base, and that instructs the plant to send energy into the bulb rather than into these seed heads. So it's a good thing to do if you want to have the bulbs flower really well year after year. And then over here, oh, we've got ranunculus that are coming up over here. I just love these. They've flowered just in the last few days and they've got heaps more coming as well, so I'm very excited about them. So I think I'm going to grow them in pots from now on, just because it's so much easier to keep track of them. And I've just given these a bit of a feed of some worm juice and like a liquid seaweed to hopefully encourage them to bloom really prolifically. And then down here we've got a border of primulas, which are just beautiful. They're really good ones to plant for early spring, late winter flowers. And they've got a chili behind there, which is actually the second year that this has been producing chilies, so that's great. I need to pick those soon. And then a heap of stuff in here. I'm pretty happy with this bed. So we've got some salvias. That's this beautiful sort of deep magenta-y pinky plant that's growing right up into the chili. And then we've got some daffodils here in this. Yeah, and I was a bit worried that they hadn't flowered. They were over there, and I thought maybe they weren't getting quite enough sun because they produced one daffodil there and one there, but that was it. So I've moved them into a sunnier spot and given them a bit of a feed, and hopefully that might encourage them to produce some more flowers. And down here we've got some more purple primulas, which are just so pretty. They're a really great border plant. Like if you look over here, see how they just kind of fall over the border? They're really good for softening hard edges in your garden. And then we've got some more ranunculi here, which are all just about to pop. These I noticed this year. So I had some tulips that have finished flowering now. They're over here. Not looking so great. I also had some red ones. But the timing was awesome because the tulips flowered first, and then almost as soon as they were done, the ranunculi started blooming. So if you're after having continual flowers in your garden, and then also planting some ranunculi in a pot is a really good way to have kind of successional blooms. So I'm definitely going to do that again next year. And over here, got some little daisies and some more primulas. And this here is called Dittany of Crete. My sister got it for me. It's a type of oregano, and it's just beautiful. It's got these really furry little leaves, and I think it will have pink flowers. I'm not too sure, but hopefully it will flower this spring and we'll find out. Got some lovely little violas, which are so pretty. I like planting them in pots because they kind of overflow like these ones are, and you're less likely to. And this one is a really nice Australian, I think, native. Oh, maybe it's not. Oh yeah, no it is. So this is an Australian bred daylily. Really, really hardy, and it's been really good in this pot so far. It's got flowers like that. So this one's got some which are about to bloom in the next few days, which I'm excited, or maybe the next week or so. I'm excited about that. Over in this pot, this is my goji berry, which looks really sad, but I checked earlier today and it's still alive. It's just hasn't gone into bud yet, so hopefully it will do that soon. But at the base, we've got all of these self-sown marigolds. So I need to dig all of these up and spread them through the garden. We've got some lettuce that I think must be self-sown as well. So it's the pot where I chuck heaps of just random seed heads and things. So yeah, so I had the marigolds growing in here before, and every time I deadheaded them, I just threw them in here. And these are all the ones that have popped up. And I also often chuck chilies. So if I pick some chilies, and like if some of them have got holes in them or are a bit ratty, I throw them in one of these two pots. And invariably they self-seed, and it's a good way to have a bit of a little seedling nursery that I can then just put all through the garden once they've actually germinated. And then over here, I've got this really lovely variegated mint. I found this pot on someone's verge, they were chucking it out, and so I kept it and drilled a hole in it. And this is a really beautiful mint. I'm looking forward to using it in cooking because it's so pretty. I love the leaves. And then here we have some sad looking broad beans because of these guys. So I do still get bugs in the garden. I can't pretend that I don't, but I don't spray them or anything, just kind of work with them. So I'm paying a bit more attention to the broad beans lately, and every time I find a big caterpillar, I kind of just do that. I sort of just knock them off, or where'd they go? Or I throw them over there into that patch of nasturtiums, because they eat the nasturtiums and hopefully they'll leave the broad beans alone. I'm hopeful that the broad beans will be okay though, because even though these top bits are really ratty, if you look down at the base of the plant, there's new shoots coming up there and there and there. And my gut feeling is they just need to get past this cool weather, and then hopefully we'll grow heaps with spring and they might pick back up. Then above it is the mulberry tree, which is absolutely covered in mulberries. I'm so excited. Look at this single branch. Totally dripping with them. Now, I'll show you over here before we go to the back garden. Got this beautiful little succulent. I don't actually know its proper name, but it's just shot up these gorgeous little flowers, and behind that we've got the grape hyacinths. This is my first year growing grape hyacinths. I've put them in these tiny little pots. I've got this succulent, or this little cactus in a shell as well. I'm just getting drowned by the grape hyacinth leaves. But yeah, aren't they beautiful? I love them. They're just so little, such dainty little things, and they go so beautifully with the little violas behind them. So this is one of my pot spots. And it's quite good having spots like that, because you can take whatever's flowering at the moment and just put it there, so you can have some stuff on show whenever it's looking good. I've got a rogue gooseberry that I did not plant that's come up in here, but I might leave that for a while. And this is a coriander flower. So planted lots of coriander seeds through winter, and now some of them are flowering, which is so lovely. Up here is, you can't really see it, but this is the wisteria, which hasn't started budding yet, which is good because I finally pruned it yesterday, so I just got in time and did a bit of a rough prune. The trick with wisteria is ideally you want to have 3 buds at each spot where you cut it, so like 1, 2, 3, and then it's got shoots coming out, and you want to limit the length of those shoots and then have these sort of buds that are coming off them, like these ones up here, and that's where hopefully the flowers will appear. So I'll do another video once they start blooming and you can see, but it's really satisfying pruning them. I love this one, the way it's sort of just like spilling over the archway, or the pergola I mean. And we've got some little daisies. There's our worm farm. This is the one that I'm really excited about. I just got this the other day. It's a scented pelargonium, but it's one I never got before. It's a peppermint one. They're calling it a geranium, but I'm pretty sure it's actually a pelargonium. And it's got the most amazing, really, really pepperminty scent. And then next to it, this is a mandevilla, which has beautiful, beautiful pink flowers. Look at the yellow centre. And these are often grown as climbers, but I'm going to try to prune this to keep it like a sort of shrub, because it's already in that kind of shape, and it was just covered in flowers a little while ago, so I think it'll be really pretty here. And we've got some little narcissus behind there. So daffodils are in the narcissus family, and this one I think is called Silly, S-C-I-L-L-Y, Silly White, I think. But anyway, it's got a beautiful smell. And look, there's a little snail and a little spider living on the same one. Through here, the nasturtiums are growing pretty wild, but I'm currently letting them. This is a tree salvia, or a giant salvia, I should say. And then, excuse the green waste bin. I was working in the garden yesterday. I don't usually actually throw stuff in the green waste bin, but I was pruning roses, and I don't put roses in the compost because they can sometimes have like fungal diseases and stuff. So they're one of the few things that I do actually chuck in the green waste. I've got some beautiful lavender, which is just about to flower. You can see all the little buds all over it. So I'm looking forward to them. They smell so good. I got these 2 conifers in winter this year, and I'm hoping that they'll help frame this kind of pathway. So I try to add little bits through the garden that can act as kind of to frame different sections. So like here I've got these 2 random bits of metal that I picked up off a verge. So I find these kind of separations are really good for creating the sense of having different rooms in the garden. So particularly over here in this back section where I have this archway, which has a clematis growing over it. I'll show you that in a sec. But that kind of gives it the feeling of like you're walking through something into another space in the garden. And if you've got a big garden, it's quite a good way to have different focal points and sort of invite people to walk through it. So it works quite well for like landscaping and stuff. And just look at the clematis. Oh, I'm obsessed with this plant. I was always told that you couldn't grow clematis in Australia because it was too hot. But the key is to have its space in the shade. So there it is going to ground. So I mulch it really heavily, and I try to plant it with other plants nearby that are sort of going to crowd out the bottom. And it's just gone wild. So this will be covered in beautiful flowers. I haven't seen any buds starting yet. Oh look, that branch is unhappy. I don't know why. But it's just totally lush, and it'll be covered in flowers hopefully in the not too distant future. And then on the other side, I've decided to try to wind this nasturtium up. I usually don't treat nasturtiums with this much respect because they just grow everywhere through the garden. But this one actually I planted intentionally because it's got beautiful little salmony flowers, which I think are such a pretty colour. So this one gets a bit of special treatment. And as it gets a bit bigger, I'm going to start trying to wind it through here. But it just won't stay there at the moment. So anyway, I think how pretty would that look, having clematis up one side and a nasturtium winding up the other side. And then I've done heaps of tidying around here, so it's looking slightly more bare than usual. But this is the giant salvia that I pointed out just before, that I've taken some cuttings of. And like I said before, it's not actually a salvia, it's a South African plant, but it flowers in a way that sort of makes it look a bit like a salvia. So it's colloquially called that, and it grows like crazy. It's so easy to propagate. So yesterday I chopped all these bits off, and you can see it's got these nodes at heaps of points along the stem, and this is a spot. All of these nodes are spots where either roots can come out or new little leaves can come out, if you see there. But the thing about these is they actually send roots out all along these sort of spines on their stem as well. So they are very, very easy to propagate. And yeah, beautiful purple flowers. Then we've got an echium, which is this kind of tall one with a silvery foliage. That has been eaten a lot by caterpillars. In fact, I can see a caterpillar on it right now. But that's okay. So I've just stood that up because it was kind of sprawling. And echium you're not supposed to prune too hard. You can damage it by pruning it. So instead of pruning it, I'm just going to treat it like a tall plant and then plant stuff underneath it. So yeah, I've planted that flowering shrub underneath, or sort of in front, and I'm hoping that'll fill up the gap underneath there. And then there's this lovely plant next to the Achium, which I have to show you. This is called a ribbon bush, and it's also from South Africa. And it gets covered in purple flowers in summer and autumn, and it is the most incredibly easy thing ever to propagate. I'm propagating them down here. So each of these, I don't know if you can see, hopefully you can. Yeah, you can. Each of these is just a chunk of the plant that I've cut off and shoved in the ground. And you can see almost all of them, maybe not that guy, maybe not this guy, but there's like at least a 90% hit rate. So very, very easy to propagate. And it's next to this other one, which is a blue butterfly bush. It all kind of fits this blue purpley colour theme, except for the rose behind, which I also pruned yesterday, which is a climbing rose, and it's got gorgeous pink flowers. This one, I think, might have a little bit of a disease, because it's just not looking totally perfectly happy. But what I'm hoping is that this... Go away, caterpillar. Go on. I'm hoping that this recent prune that I did will give it a bit more vigour, and hopefully it will come back okay. Then, what else? This is a wormwood, Artemisia, which has an amazing smell. This is also incredibly easy to propagate. I bought one plant and it has turned into another and another. I've just peppered them all through the garden because every time I prune them back, I propagate them as well and spread them through the garden. And continuing with the kind of blue-purple theme, we've got some really lovely borage. The flowers of this are edible. They taste like cucumber. And behind it is either a radish or a turnip or something that I planted back in winter as a cover crop, and I've just let it grow and grow, and now it's covered in flowers. These are really good for pollinators, and for butterflies as well. You can see there's cabbage white butterflies, which I think are so beautiful. And I've also put cornflowers through here as well, so lots and lots of blues there as well. And this here is the nutmeg bush, which isn't actual nutmeg. It's not like the spice, but it has beautiful lilac-y kind of flowers in winter. So it's a really good plant because you don't get lots of things that flower in midwinter. And I've planted a buddleia next to that. So this will have beautiful light pink frothy flowers. They're almost like wisteria, the flowers are just really lovely. And that can grow up to 4 meters. So I'm hoping it will really add a lot of height to this area at the back of the garden. And there's some more ribbon bush there. So lots of purples as well. This is a white borage. So you just saw the purple one, but you can also get it in white. And then over here, this is the fence that I built from the bits of the mulberry tree that Luke pruned earlier this year during winter. So I just wound them in and out. I put these stakes in the ground at little intervals, and then I wound the branches of the mulberry tree in and out. I also used the other prunings from the tree to build these little teepees that you can see there. We've got sweet peas growing up this one. It takes them a while to actually grab hold of the sticks because the sticks are quite chunky, but eventually they manage it. And yeah, there's the pond. Needs a little bit of a clean up. So there should hopefully be some nice blues from the cornflowers planted in there, and then the reds from the purple lantern, and sort of bright oranges from the nasturtiums, and then this rose will be red. And over here we've got so these are purple dragon and thumbelina carrots, and I thinned them out the other day, and the ones that I thinned out were looking pretty sad, but you can see they've got new shoots coming up, so hopefully they'll recover. But these ones are hopefully going to provide us with heaps of carrots in maybe a month or so. And this is the pomegranate, which has beautiful new buds for spring. It's finally like leafing out, so it's looking pretty. I just love it. Everything's looking so happy because the weather's finally warming up, and like plants are starting to grow at twice the speed they were growing in winter. And this is the passion fruit marigold. These passion fruit marigolds are another really good one to plant if you want winter colour, and the leaves smell like lollies. Yeah, like a fresh passion fruit that you've just cut open. They're beautiful. So I feel like I've got a million more things to show you, but I think I'll leave that for another garden tour. I feel like that's plenty for today. But yeah, so much is changing at the moment, so I'll try and do these more regularly so you can see what else is growing and what I'm planting and what's fruiting and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, thank you for joining me on this little garden tour.